Our environment. The surrounding around us forms our environment. It consists of living and non-living things. These things always interact with each other, making some impact on environment. For example, person throwing waste on road which causes smell. Based on ability to get decomposed by the action of biological processes, the things or substances around us can be biodegradable, non-biodegradable. Biodegradable substances. The substances that can be decomposed to simplest forms by the microorganisms are called as biodegradable substances. For example, waste food, vegetable peels, used tea leaves, waste paper. All these products, if buried in soil, then the microorganisms decompose these into simple substances such as nitrogen, carbon, oxygen, water. These substances get recycled in the nature. But if these waste are in huge quantity, then it creates harmful effects in nature, such as hazards, spoiling of food chain. Non-biodegradable substances. The substances that cannot be decomposed by microorganisms are called non-biodegradable substances. For example, plastic, rubber, electronic waste. These substances cannot be recycled in nature, and hence human being has to do it manually by applying heat or pressure. Ecosystem and its components. Ecosystem. The community in which living and non-living things interact and maintain balance in nature is called ecosystem. For example, in forest, there are various plants and animals. They interact with each other and their activities are dependent on non-living parameters such as temperature, water. Hence, forest is an ecosystem. Types of ecosystem. Ecosystem can be artificial or natural. Artificial ecosystems are man-made ecosystems. For example, gardens, crop fields. Natural ecosystems are ecosystems that are produced naturally. For example, forest, lakes, ponds. Components of ecosystem. All the living and non-living things present in ecosystem are the components of that ecosystem. Components of ecosystem are classified as biotic components and abiotic components. Biotic components. These are the living organisms of the ecosystem. For example, plants, animals, microorganisms, and human beings. Biotic components can be further classified as producers, consumers, and decomposers. Producers. The organisms that can prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis are called producers. For example, plants, blue-green algae. Photosynthesis results in production of sugar and starch from simple substances such as carbon, oxygen, water in presence of sunlight, and chlorophyll. Consumers. The organisms that are dependent directly or indirectly on producers are called as consumers. For example, human, birds, animals, aquatic organisms. Consumers can be classified as Herbivores, the organisms that directly depend on plants. For example, goat. Carnivores, the organisms that obtain food by eating other animals are carnivores. For example, tiger. Omnivores, the organisms that can obtain food from plants as well as animals are called omnivores. For example, human. Parasites, these organisms lives in or on other organisms and obtain food from them. For example, ticks. Decomposers, those organisms that decompose complex organic substances into simple inorganic substances are called decomposers. For example, bacteria, fungi. The decomposed waste forms simple substances that can be used by plants. Abiotic components. These are the physical factors such as soil, water, sunlight, rainfall, wind, which affects the activities in an ecosystem. Food chains and webs. Series of organisms that feed on one another is called food chain. For example, plants prepare their own food. These plants are food for deer. And finally, deer is a food for tiger. Trophic level. Each level in the food chain is called trophic level. First trophic level. The producers are placed in first trophic level. Second trophic level. Herbivores or primary consumers are placed at second trophic level. Third trophic level. Small carnivores or secondary consumers are placed at third trophic level. Fourth trophic level. Finally, large top carnivores or tertiary consumers are placed at fourth trophic level. Energy transfer in food chain. Producers obtain energy from sunlight and convert it to chemical energy as food and made it available to rest of the ecosystem. The energy is transferred from one trophic level to next throughout the food chain. During this process, some part of energy get lost in the environment while doing activities such as growth, reproduction. More specifically, plants obtain 1% of solar energy. When herbivores eat these plants, then they get only 10% of plants' total energy. Again, if carnivores eat these herbivores, then they get 10% of herbivores' total energy. Thus, energy goes on continuously decreasing and thus limit the number of levels in a food chain. The energy transfer is always unidirectional, that is, energy can only transfer from producers to next trophic levels. Generally, in a food chain, there are large number of individuals at lower trophic levels, that of higher trophic levels. One organism is generally eaten by two or more individuals. Hence, the food chains form complex network called as food web. Chemical transfer in food chain. Plants take up polluted water containing chemicals. Several such plants are eaten by herbivores. Hence, concentration of chemicals in herbivores increases. At the top of the food chain, this concentration is highest. Chemicals enter in food chains by various means and get accumulated as the trophic level increases. Ultimately, at highest trophic level, the concentration of these chemicals becomes highest. This process is called biological magnification. Various means by which chemicals can enter the food chains are polluted water, soil containing chemicals, and that causes harmful effects on the individual as well as food chain. Effects of our activities on environment. Knowingly or unknowingly, our activities such as burning of fossil fuels causes changes in environment like air pollution. These changes in turn causes adverse effect on us such as temperature rise and ozone depletion. Ozone depletion. Ozone molecule is formed by bonding between three atoms of oxygen. A layer of such molecules is located at higher level of atmosphere. Ozone layer acts as shield to protect us from ultraviolet radiations emitted by sun. Ultraviolet radiations can cause severe effects such as skin cancer. How ozone is formed? Ultraviolet radiations acts on oxygen molecule and results in splitting of molecular oxygen into free oxygen atoms. The free oxygen atom then combine with other oxygen molecule to form ozone molecule. How ozone is depleted? Chlorofluorocarbons, that is CFCs, is used as refrigerants and fire extinguishers. In higher atmosphere, these CFCs breaks to release chlorine gas by the effect of UV radiation. The chlorine atom reacts with ozone and forms free oxygen. Free oxygen forms oxygen molecule. Thus, a single chlorine atom can affect thousands of ozone layer molecules, which results in depletion of ozone layer. Few other such chemicals are hydrochlorofluorocarbons, that is HCFCs, methyl chloroform, carbon tetrachloride. Waste disposal. Our daily activities generate lot of waste consisting of biodegradable as well as non-biodegradable substances. For example, waste vegetable parts, papers, damaged electronic components known as e-waste. These waste may harm our environment. Hence, these need to be disposed effectively. One such measure is landfill, in which waste is buried in the ground. Recycling not only disposes the waste, but can also form new product with low cost. In incineration, the waste is subjected to combustion, thus converting it into gas, residue, steam, or ash. Prevention is better than cure. Hence, we should use such products that produce little or no waste. For example, instead of plastic glasses, use disposal glasses for tea. Use of cotton bags instead of plastic bags.